Hi, my name is Avyan and you're watching Parenting First in English. In this video, we are going to tackle the major problem of teens swearing at their parents. So we have a question here. My 14-year-old son swears at me. Whenever he's upset about something, he will go all out and shout at me, scream at me, and sometimes even swear. Often, I have just cried in front of him because I could not control myself. What have I done so wrong that he treats me like this? Okay. In cases where your teen is swearing at you, what you must do is not swear back at them. That would be the biggest mistake that you would make. If until now it so happened that whenever your son swore at you, you swore back at him, from now on make it a point that you take a deep breath whenever he starts shouting and swearing at you. Take a deep breath, relax yourself, and then tell yourself that I don't have to shout back, I don't have to yell back, I don't have to swear back at him. Because the moment you swear back at him, you are on his level playing field. The moment you swear back at him, you become his equal, which is not something that you want to do. And once you have, taken control of yourself, once you're able to refrain from swearing back, at that moment you can look your son straight in the eyes and tell them that, hey, if that's how you want to talk, we are not having this conversation anymore. If you wish to speak to me, learn how to talk to your mother or to your father or to your parents. This way, we are not having a conversation. Say that and leave the room. Just don't be anywhere near your child or in the room where he is at that moment. Let him shout, let him scream at you, let him do anything that he does. Obviously, you must ensure that he's not harming himself, he's not hitting himself back, or he's not throwing things around. But you mustn't talk to him, you mustn't respond to him the moment he starts shouting, the moment he starts yelling at you, the moment he starts swearing at you. Once you distance yourself, once you pull yourself away from that situation, from that scenario where your child is shouting at you, then you're essentially giving him the message that, hey, this is not how things are going to work. We are not going to have a conversation if that is the kind of behavior that you're going to show. Now, yes, and you said that you even cried in front of him because you cannot control yourself. I would say that you must avoid crying in front of your child, because that obviously, your child wants to provoke you by swearing at you, by shouting at you. They want to provoke you, and they want to get a response from you in a form of either shouting, in the form of either screaming, or in the form of crying. So you will actually be doing a huge favor to your child if you start crying or if you start shouting at them. So I would say that is something that you must avoid. Don't cry in front of your child if you feel really sad. I can only imagine the amount of pain that it will cause you when your child swears back at you. In that case, just leave the room. Just don't be there. Just don't talk to him. Just don't even look him in the eye. Tell him that I'm not going to even look at you if that's how you want to talk to me. Give him the message that, hey, that's not how we have a conversation here. If you want to have a decent conversation, you've got to remain calm, and you've got to talk to me the way you're supposed to talk to your parents. So control your own emotions, because at the end of the day, you are the parent, and you must have that control over your feelings. Okay, so there are about 5 points. So the way this video is structured is that I will give you 5 points that you can follow that will help in reducing the in kind of helping a child quit swearing. And then we also have a what if none of this works section, where I will explain to you what you should do if all those 5 points don't work. Sorry. Right, so this is the next day. I had to actually rush off um, after I recorded the initial part of this video. So I'm essentially recording this the next day. Um, but yes, let's get into it. So the first point is make sure that you don't swear at home. And this is really important. Like I was saying this before, um, when you swear back at your teenager or at your child, um, it's you're kind of giving the signal that I'm on your level playing field. So let's just take the example of someone who's shouting at you, someone at your office, or someone at the local grocery store, or at the sports club that you go to, or anywhere that you go to, and then someone is actually shouting at you. When someone is shouting or yelling at you, they expect you to yell back at them, obviously, because in that case, they would feel that this person is on my level playing field. This person is an equal to me, and that is why they are shouting back. And kids actually want you to shout back because they want you to come down on their ground. They want you to position yourself as someone who's their fair equal. And if that happens, then you have totally lost control over telling them what is right and what is wrong. And swearing is definitely wrong. So whenever they swear, or in general, just don't swear, just don't swear at home, because when you swear, your child is learning that swearing is just a form of conversation, right? And for most of us adults, I would like to think that swearing is just a part of the conversation. So we swear because we want to express a particular emotion, and that is probably why you swear at home, because you want to express an emotion in a very strongly. So for instance, if you're angry, you are more likely to swear at the thing that you're angry about, right? And it is completely fine as long as you're doing it, because you yourself are a mature adult and you kind of know subconsciously why you are swearing. You're expressing your emotion, you're expressing the anger, but your child is not mature enough to understand why people swear. So your child will think that it is completely fine to swear, for them to swear when they're angry or when they're upset, because they think it's a part of normal conversation. It is indeed a part of everyday or normal conversation, but then it's just an expression of emotion, and it has to be. And when you live in a civil society, you obviously have to observe the conventional rules of language, and you must understand that swearing and swear words are not essentially to be used at home or when you are sitting in a civilized place. Obviously, when you are with friends, you don't really care the way you talk, but when the point is that because they're unable to understand that swearing is just an expression of emotion, and then it has to be controlled. It has to be used only in specific scenarios. When they understand this, when your kids understand this point, they would be at a much better position when it comes to swearing. They would not swear so regularly. However, if you swear at home, then obviously they take your example and they say, okay, because my parent is swearing, so I can swear as well, because it's just very natural. It's just the way a conversation happens. So when you stop swearing at home, there are a good number of chances that your child will follow your lead. The second point is make a swear chart. It's a very simple thing to do. You can make a chart and you can print it out, or you can even draw the lines on a piece of paper and then you can stick it up on the wardrobe or on a wall somewhere. But the idea is to kind of keep a track of the number of times that you swear in a day at home. So for instance, if you happen to swear as well, if you're not swearing at all and if your kid has learned swearing from somewhere else, then you can create the chart specifically for your child. But if your child swears and if you swear as well, then you can create a collective chart where you note down the number of times you swear in a day. So for instance, I swore twice today. So you write 2 against that particular day of the week that I swore twice today. And then you make sure I mean, and then you review the chart in the evening before going to bed, and then you kind of discuss with your child that, hey, you swore these many times today. Make sure that you swear 0 times tomorrow, or get this number from 5 to 2, from 6 to 3, or from 10 to 8 or 7. I understand that. I mean, it's you essentially who has to understand that swearing is not something that, I mean, you will tell your child and they will stop doing it from the very next day. You will have to remind them very often that they are not supposed to be swearing at home. I mean, they're not supposed to be swearing in general. So having a swear chart is essentially helping yourself and helping your child keep a track of the number of times that you swear in a day. When you have that empirical data, when you have that mathematical figure of the number of times that you swear, then you can easily bring it down, because you have to bring the number down from X to 5 to 2 to 0 times a day, right? So if your child is swearing 20 or 50 times a day, you have to bring that number down to 10, and then you have to gradually bring the number down to 5, and then to 2, and then to 0, and then completely stick with that 0. So having a swear chart will essentially, help you keep a track of the number of times your child swears. And if you swear at home, then you must have that chart for yourself as well, so that you can have sort of, you can take take quitting swearing as a challenge as a parent and a child. So you can do it as a family, right? The third point is reward and punish. And this is, again, a very crucial point. Look, if your teenager stops swearing, or if your teenager reduces the number of times that they swear in a day, they must be rewarded. They're putting in the effort, right? They're putting in the conscious effort. When you're not swearing, you're essentially putting in the conscious effort of not saying a particular word, right? So in that case, they feel that because they have put in that effort and because they have been successful, they deserve something. So in that case, rewarding them with something would always be good. So for instance, if they don't swear on a particular day, and if you see that they were swearing 5 times or 6 times a day, and then on a Wednesday they have hardly sworn. I mean, on the chart it says 0 times when you look at it. You can easily reward them. You can give them an extra hour on their mobile phone, or you can take them to you can take them to their favorite pizza place or a restaurant if you see that they haven't sworn, if they haven't used a cuss word for the past 5 days or 7 days even. So I'm not saying that you should do it regularly, but you can provide this as an incentive that, okay, if you quit swearing, or if you don't swear, for instance, if your child swears 100 times a day, that's very hard to deal with. But if your child swears anywhere between 50 to 100 times a day, then you can easily tell them that, hey, if you don't swear on a single day, if your swear count is 0, then we will go to this place, or we will do that, or you will get the chance to do something that you like. That will really give them the incentive that, okay, I have to quit swearing. And then they will actually put in the conscious effort of not swearing. Otherwise, if you don't provide them with an incentive, they would most likely not put in the conscious effort, and they would say, oh, I'm sorry, I swore, I didn't mean to, and I'll keep it in mind next time. But when they have an incentive in front of them, they'll be like, okay, I will consciously make an effort that I don't use a swear word, and then probably I'll get that reward for myself. And yes, if you have decided that, okay, because you're quitting swearing, so I can only allow you to use cuss words 3 times a day. If you go anywhere above 3, you're going to get punished, and then you can have a punishment for that. Or if your child has been following a quitting cycle for the past 7 days, if they have been trying to quit for the past 7 days, and if you feel that they have started to use cuss words more than they were doing through those 7 days, and then the 7 days their progress was really good, and then suddenly on the 10th day they have started swearing again 10 times, 20 times a day, then you can easily set a punishment that, hey, because you started swearing back a very high number of times a day, even during your quitting cycle, I'm going to make you do this, or you will have to do this chore, or you will have to do something, or you are not allowed to go out, or you're not allowed to do this because this is a punishment. So you can establish a reward and punish system where they get rewarded for when they don't swear, or when they follow your lead, and they get punished if they do swear a lot. And I mean, this might make it seem that I'm actually encouraging swearing. I'm not actually. What I'm trying to say here is that even if you have, okay, let me go to the next point, and then I will explain this point better. So the fourth point is that set a quitting time period. This again is really important, and this is actually connected to the previous point that I was telling you about. So you must set a quitting time cycle for yourself and as well as for your kid. So you can understand, you can decide that, okay, I'm going to take 21 days, or you can tell your kid that, hey, you have 21 days and you have to quit swearing by the end of these 21 days, and there are going to be no exceptions whatsoever. That will really help them, have a target in mind. So if your child is swearing 20 times a day, then the target for the first week should be to bring it down to 10 times a day. And for the target for the second week should be to bring it down to 5 times a day. And the target for third week should be to bring it to 0 times a day, or not swear at all. So when you're actually progressing from 20 times a day to 10 times to 5 times and to eventually to 0 times a day, you are actually helping your kid in removing, in kind of consciously controlling themselves from swearing, and then subconsciously not swearing at all. So whenever they get angry, so for instance, in the first week, whenever they got angry or whenever they got upset, they would be swearing like 5 times a day. But now in the third week, because you help them bring it down, you help them bring down the number from from 20 to 10 to 5, because you help them bring down by fragments, they are very less likely to use a swear word when upset or angry, because they have trained themselves during that period of 2 weeks to not use a swear word while they're angry. And the quitting cycle, it also helps you keep a track of, helps you to help your child to actually quit swearing. Otherwise it's a never-ending process. You can tell them that, hey, you swore 5 times a day, you swore 7 times a day, you swore 3 times a day, and there's no end to it. You must put your foot down and say, hey, you've got 21 days or you've got 28 days, and you must quit swearing by the end of it. And there are no exceptions to this. The fifth point is that you shouldn't let them mutter under the breath. Now, a child would want to swear or would want to get around the rewards and punishment system by actually muttering under the breath, or saying something bad under their breath, saying something like this, something that is very inaudible to you. I would say that you must put your foot down and say that they are not allowed to do it. You must tell your child you are not allowed to mutter under your breath. If you do, then that will be counted as a swear. So if you swore only 2 times a day, but you muttered something under your breath for about 5 times a day, then the total number of times you swore in that day was 7, because muttering will also be counted as swearing. So you must establish that as a ground rule. That is something that they have to follow no matter what happens, because a child can very easily mutter the cuss word under their breath without you actually noticing it, or without you actually hearing the word, but they still do it, and they would want to get away with it by saying that, oh, I didn't say anything. But then it's your responsibility to put your foot down and say, no, if you mutter under the breath, you're going to count it as a swear. So you're not allowed to do that as well. Now, what if none of this works? So you have a chart maintained, and you decided that your child will quit swearing in a period of 21 days or 28 days. Let's say you decided 21 days, and they finally were able to quit. They stopped swearing for those 21 days, and by the end of that month, they had stopped swearing at all. And then suddenly, after 2 months, you realize that they have started doing it again. What do you do then? The first question that you must ask yourself in that case is that, did you stop swearing during that time frame that you had decided? If you did not stop swearing, and if you have started swearing back again at home, then you mustn't blame your child for it. I mean, in that case, you must really just express your disappointment at your own failure to control, you know, your tendency to use cuss words. So you must express disappointment at the fact that you failed to stop swearing. And then you can tell your child as well that, hey, but yeah, I know I failed. I'm sorry for myself that, I decided that I would quit swearing in these 21 days and I failed to quit it. And then I started doing it again, and I can see that you failed as well. And then once you have kind of expressed that disappointment at yourself and at your child, then you can collectively, kind of restart the entire cycle of quitting, and this time actually quit it. If your teen stopped swearing for at least a few weeks before they started swearing it again, then there are chances that they relapsed by mistake. So they actually did not want to swear back again, but then they started doing it because just out of, just because they were really, very angry sometime, or they just relapsed by mistake of their own making. So, and it's completely fine. I mean, I would rather suggest you to acknowledge and praise their effort praise their effort of being able to quit swearing at a particular point. And then you can also express disappointment by saying that, hey, I saw that you actually successfully quit swearing and then you've started doing it again. What happened? I'm very disappointed. I felt really proud of you when you quit it, but now suddenly that you have started doing it again, I'm surprised and I'm disappointed. What's going on? What's wrong? You can have a conversation like that, and then you can encourage your child to follow that same quitting cycle. This time maybe reduce the number of days. So if you, for instance, the first cycle was of 21 days, then you can reduce that cycle to about 7 days, like forever quit smoking. Oh, forever quit swearing, sorry. So yeah, and I think this should really work. The idea here is that you must follow a cycle to quit. If you leave your child with the liberty that, hey, you have to quit swearing, but then you can do it whenever you want. If you don't have a quitting cycle in place, you're essentially telling your child, you must quit swearing, but then you can do it. It's okay if you do it, and if you're still trying to quit. It's like saying to your child that you must quit swearing for the remainder of your life. Like, that is just not possible, So you must have that deadline that by 28th of September or by 31st of December 2020, I will quit using cuss words in my speech. So if you have that cycle, they are much more likely to follow it. And then again, the reward and punishment system, that works really well when it comes to dealing with teenagers, and especially when it comes to dealing with problems like these. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, it would be great if you could leave a thumbs up to the channel, and I publish situation-based parenting, situation-based how-to videos every alternate day, so you can subscribe to my channel if you're interested in finding out the answers to thousands of problems that parents have. And if you have a question that you would like me to answer, then you are most welcome to drop a comment, and I would be very happy to make a video about the same. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.